pleasure.
Thank you for accepting my request, being on my talk show. And for people who want to follow me, you can follow in the corner, hashtag KeithAndrewNetwork. You can just, people can subscribe to my channel on youtube.com and like my Facebook page. And it's a half hour of your time. I'm going to ask you some easy questions. Then I'm going to pass it over to you. You can say whatever you want. Normal conversation. And I know you said you're short on time, so let's just jump right into it. Starting off, what can you tell us about yourself?
Okay, well, I am an actor, filmmaker, author, speaker, and I do a lot of MC work as well. And, I've had quite a challenging life, and I speak on obstacles to inspiration because I think that our obstacles are just challenges for growth, and that life has a duality of opposites like good and bad, hot and cold. Everything has its opposite, and unless we have opposites in our life, we don't know the value of the other side of things. So, and that is why I wrote my book, The Truth About Acting. I don't know if you can see it.
Yep.
It is probably the only book of its nature, because what I've done in my book, The Truth About Acting, is I've actually written it to share my own career biography and just to encourage actors and artists to empower themselves by leading a more holistic lifestyle that protects them from the pitfalls of going through so many rejections and such an uncertain life, and to show them that there is certainty in uncertainty, and by having a very strong base of self-referral and practicing tools like non-judgment and things like that, it can really help them, And so it is also full of career advice, as in do's and don'ts in the industry, and it's good for anyone really who has a dream and wants to make it happen, So my website is Tula Tzoras, TULATZORAS.com, and you can go onto my site if you like and just see what I do. Yeah.
Now, the first question I was going to ask you is, who influenced you to become an actress, and how many years have you been an actress?
Well, it's funny, Keith, because ever since I was young, I wanted to perform. So really it was on my own volition. And when I got into acting, it was in the 80s. So we didn't have anything like the internet or any way of finding out how to do it. So I went in sort of blind, and I have been an actor now, professional actor, for all of my adult life, Yeah. But, it's an interesting lifestyle, because acting is not just a career, it's a lifestyle. It's like going from rags to riches and back, and just knowing how to deal with both and be happy in both. And I think it's really important for anyone to love what they do, and so I help people access their inspiration and make it happen for them. Yeah.
While on the subject, can you give us a perfect example what you mean?
Sorry?
Oh, you said you help people reach their dreams. Can you give us a perfect example of how you do that?
Yeah, well, funnily enough, I have some kind of, innate gift to be able to tune in to people's inspiration just by asking them a few questions. And because I've had a long experience in performance, also in the corporate arena, as well as mindset, spirituality, inspiration, because when I was young, I used to have panic attacks. So that started me over in a personal growth journey. And I'm just as passionate about that and health and well-being as I am about everything else I do. So because I have a diverse set of skills, once I am able to tune into people, what makes people happy, I then give them the tools to be able to put that into practice. So I coach people personally, but I also do workshops and, group coaching, things like that. Does that answer your question?
Yes. Now, the other question, I have 5 questions I'm going to ask you, but I'm going to pass it over to you. The first one is, ever been to the States? What's your favorite thing about Australia? And I saw that you did a post about your interview that you did. So, what's the first 3 questions about the interview you did?
Which interview is that?
Oh, you had on your post that you did an interview about your story?
Oh, okay. Was that the Talk Story TV you were
Yes.
referring to? That was from the States too, but I've always wanted to go to the States, but it hasn't come up, and I haven't been there yet. But I'd love to come to the States, yeah. And what was the other question? Sorry.
Oh, what can you tell us about the interview? Talk TV. Ever been to the States? Well, you answered that one. But the other 2 questions is, do you like Australia? What is your favorite things? What is your least favorite things? And how did you come up with the story that you came up, Talk TV?
Okay. I love Australia and I love Sydney because the climate is so amazing, and it's an outdoor place. There's lots of sunshine. I'm also surrounded by some very creative and spiritual people, and lots of people that are really open. And, if something's going on, then they'll invite you. They're very inclusive. And I also work with the community and with people in more marginalized areas of the community, and I love that. And what don't I like about Australia? I think the only thing that I don't like about Australia is it's so far from the rest of the world. Wouldn't it be great if Australia was next to the States and it's, say, in between the States and Europe? That would be amazing. That's the only thing I don't like. And with Talk Story TV, when I published my book, The Truth About Acting, they actually got in touch with me and wanted to interview me, and we discussed the more personal themes of, um, going an actor's well-being and my own history of having certain health issues and things like that, like anxiety, which I now manage and I've published articles on, and also because I was doing too much, I collapsed about 12 years ago with chronic fatigue syndrome, which I also manage now as well. So in my book, and in my articles published on Leaders in Heels and True Natural Health magazine, the kind of subjects that I write about are things like visualization, inspiration and how to access it, breathing, which is so important, anxiety, how to get the best out of relationships, because I've studied that as well, all those kinds of things, and I'm a huge advocate for yoga. So they're the kinds of things that we really spoke about on the Talk Story TV interview. It's on YouTube anyway. You can have a look at it if you like.
Yeah, if you can send us the link, we would love to see it.
Yeah.
Now, what type of questions did they ask you when you were being interviewed? And do they interview just writers, or they interview pretty much everyone? Do you think I have the shot to be interviewed, or I'm not a writer?
As far as I know, they interview writers, but there's no harm in asking. Yeah.
Well, if you can put
I'm sure they'd be interested. In fact, Keith, I went to a film screening just the other night with company called Bus Stop Films. And I thought that they would be a company that you might interest you because the lady who actually runs the whole show, Genevieve Clay Smith, is our Young Australian of the Year. And what she does is she runs classes with young people from marginalized areas and disabilities and teaches them how to make films. And so I'm a huge supporter of theirs as well. And I thought that it would be a great connection for you and them as well, you know. So I'd love to put you in touch with them too.
Hey, if you can help me out, I appreciate it.
Absolutely. I love what you do. I think it's great.
Thank you. And while on the subject, I usually ask this at the very end, but I'm going to ask you these two questions and I'll pass the show over to you. What made you say yes about being a guest on my talk show? And what was your first impression when I reached out to you?
Um, Admittedly, I don't get onto Twitter that much, only because I'm more used to Facebook and how that works. So when I received your message, I was quite intrigued. I can't say that I knew how to answer it straight away, but I did look you up and I had a look at an interview you did, just one of them, and just the fact that you have your own limitations and yet you do what you do inspired me to want to talk to you and to support you if I can, because I think that I'm a huge believer in collaboration and not competition. Not that we would ever be in competition, but I think that we're all here to help each other.
No, absolutely. Now
Yeah.
I'm going to pass the show over to you. Was there any subjects you want to talk about? Anything that gets you fired up? Anything you want to ask me? Hard hitting? This is your time after all.
Oh, okay. Oh, what gets me inspired? I think that with my films that I've made, I've kind of had the inspiration to do them. So even if I didn't have the resources to do them, I think that once you are inspired to do something, then everything kind of falls into place because you have that purpose, and then having that purpose gives you the volition to make things happen. So I'm a huge believer in inspiration, and I'm very grateful to have had inspiration. Like, for instance, when things have gone wrong, and obstacles have come up, and I've had some big obstacles come up. Um, I guess I'm very grateful to have had the ability to say, okay, well, this has happened. What do I do now? And then all these possibilities appear, rather than asking, oh, why did this happen? How did this happen? Why me? Which isn't really helpful. So I guess that's what I want to say about inspiration. I think it's the juice of life, and with you, I guess what I want to ask you is, obviously, what inspired you to do what you do?
Alright. Well, trying to find the words for it because I keep repeating myself over and over and over for every interview. Um,
So I take it this is a question that you've been asked a lot.
yeah, about 266 times. So I'm not.
Okay, let me see if I can come up with another one. Where do you see your show going, and what would you like to see happen for it?
Well, to answer your first question, I basically had people say to me, I'm gonna end up in a group home, and I'm gonna be a burden for someone, And everyone in my family had one time or another had a learning disability. Well, even if they still do have it, they overcame it. One's a school teacher, two are poetry, or one's a school teacher, one's a poetry writer, the other one goes on tour. The other two are doing whatever. They're making themselves happy. And I was like, well, if they can do and enjoy their lives, screw it. I'm going to show people that even if we're in disability, I can still overcome controversy and reach my goals in life. At the same time, I'm able to turn myself into a perfect example for people out there dealing with any types of learning disabilities. But you should never give up or have people label you. You need to prove to them you can still amount to something. And I admit I started a show for myself. And, when I wanted to say, hey, I have a disability, I want to prove something. But then I said, that it kind of sounds like a dick thing because I'm just doing it for myself, and somehow that's going to end up being used against me. So I was like, well, for marketing, how can I tweak that? How can I change that? How can I use that for my advantage? So I said, you know what? If I die, I've been saying this for all my life, um, it's always better to go the extra mile, make a difference in someone's life. I still get made fun of for this. I say it's the thought that counts.
That's right.
And I was like, I rather. I'm gonna give you a perfect example. I give you a perfect example. Yeah,
Okay.
I will use you for example. I'm sorry, it's just a late at night in my mind. I'm like half asleep, half awake.
Oh, I'm so sorry, Keith.
Not a problem. I was gonna say you're rich and famous. Now, do you want people?
Me?
Yeah, just using you for a perfect example.
Oh, I see. Okay.
You're rich and famous. Do you want to be remembered for someone who cared about herself and just had all her money? Or do you want to die knowing you made a difference in someone's life? No matter how big or small it was the thought that matters. And that's how you got to be remembered, is the difference you made.
I agree with you. And I think that it's just so wonderful to hear that you had such a great example from your family, that they all that you had the example that it is possible to overcome anything. And I completely agree with you that I don't I don't believe in labels either.
Right.
And in fact, I don't believe in disability. I don't believe in mental illness unless someone is hurting themselves or someone else. In fact, people with disabilities, I find the most fascinating because I love the brain, in the way that the brain works. And the thing is that people say with autism or Asperger's or, whatever it is, they are brilliant in their own way. And I think that we're all brought on this earth with our own unique talent. And whatever our situation is, if we look at what we can actually offer rather than what our limitations are or the limitations that our society places on us, because my belief, Keith, is that we are brought up in a very conditioned environment where some behavior is thought to be normal, and if you're a little bit different, this our society is so afraid of that they feel the need to label you, and I don't agree with that at all. I think everyone is absolutely perfect just the way they are.
No, absolutely. And I'll give you a perfect example. I make a long story short. I used to work in retail, and it was like my brother's doing this or my sister's doing that, and I was like, screw it. I'm gonna show people. Like I said, with a disability, I can still mount to something, because people. I recently been saying to people, let's see, what is the metaphor? I've been using two metaphors. So the glass ceiling was one of them, is
Yeah.
I'm gonna go as high as you want me to go, and when I keep pushing on that ceiling and I make a crack, and slowly, and it's true, I made a crack in the ceiling, not literally made a crack in the ceiling, but in the metaphor, glass ceiling, I made a crack, and as I'm pushing it through, they're on the other side pushing down because they only want me to go as far as they want me to go. That's the one. The other one was the leash metaphor. Is on your guy. You see those retractable stupid releases things. The guy's holding it and the dog's going and going and going, and he pulls the thing and it stops. But you have all this rope or the leash. You have all this freedom, but you're only gonna go as far as they want you to go. That's what's the leash. It's like, okay, we're holding the rest of it. You have whatever freedom you have right here. You have all this rope, and they're like, let's see if you don't hang yourself with it. So I'm gonna say we're only gonna go as far as they want me to go. I'm gonna go as high as they want me to go. But I'm
Can
just
I ask you something? I'm sorry to interrupt you. When you say they, who do you mean? Do you mean society?
well, they, my parents, just people in general.
Okay, let me ask you another question, okay?
Sure.
Your spirit belongs to you, right?
Yes.
Okay. So if you were to forget that all those other people existed and you tune in to your own spirit, do you think there are any limits? Okay, let me put it this way. In your own soul and spirit, you know what you're capable of.
Right.
And that has nothing to do with anyone else. So the only limits that we place are the ones we place on ourselves. So if you tuned into your spirit, can you imagine how vast your spirit is?
I think so.
Do you relate to that at all, or is it really foreign?
No, I get the idea.
Yeah.
There's things that I'm capable of doing, and I'm very passionate about it. But at the same time, there's things that realistically I won't be able to do.
Yeah. Okay. So the things that you can do, though,
Yes. I'm
the
just gonna go
sky's
out.
the limit.
Yep, I'm just gonna go out and reach for it.
Yep. And I tell you what, this is what I say to people I coach. Every time you hear someone, I think the word is magic, okay? Like, let me give you an example. When we're young and we're growing up, if someone tells us, you can't do this or you can't do that, we take it on board because we don't know. So only you know what you can do and what you can't do. So when people tell you things, whoever they are, even if it's your family, they're telling you things from what they know and what their story is. But that doesn't make it your story. I hope
Yeah,
that helps.
yeah, absolutely, because they're only reflecting themselves onto you.
Yes. Have you heard of Don Miguel Ruiz?
Not really.
Okay, Keith. He did this series called The Path to Freedom and the Four Agreements. If you have time and you're interested, have a look at it, because I actually prescribe that to people that I'm coaching, and it really does free your mind and it's amazing stuff. So if you're interested, have a look at it.
Sure, I will. Now, wrapping up, do you have any funny stories you'd like to share? Any words of wisdom? How can your fans follow you on social media?
Well, I have several social media platforms. For instance, I have a group on Facebook called How Can I Help? So everyone's welcome to join that. And then I have a page on Facebook called The Crazy Crusaders, which is about providing sustainable solutions for our future outside the matrix we live in, like this amazing billionaire. What's his name? Oh, I forget his name. Sorry, but it's there's a film on YouTube called Billions in Change, and he's actually donating 99% of his fortune and building these sustainable solutions for poor countries, like free electricity and converting water to drinkable, usable water, and also this amazing machine called Renew, which boosts up the immune system. It's really worth watching, and that's what the Crazy Crusaders was established for, is for people to share sustainable solutions for our future and to be able to reach a place where we can somehow eliminate poverty and suffering, But if people want to follow me, they can follow me on my site or my LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and it's just Tula Tzoras, TulaTzoras. And, I'm happy to speak to different groups and be invited to speak, on obstacles to inspiration and also finding your voice and how to conquer stage fright so that you can express all of who you are. And words of wisdom, gosh, I guess have a look at my blog because I publish all my thoughts and different articles on things. So that's tulatzoras.com/blog. And that's all free. And I can't think of anything else.
Hey, wrapping up, but I just want to say thank you for taking the time to be a guest on my talk show.
Thank you so much, Keith, and I'm so glad that we finally got to connect across the world with our time differences.